COVID is still an active threat. And if you go to anyone on the street or anyone who walks into your library and you ask them, what is COVID? What is the risk of COVID? Why should we be concerned about COVID? They are not going to give you an answer that matches science. They are going to give you an answer that is conspiracy, right? Empirically, the conspiracists won the pandemic. And that's one of the reasons why most people think the pandemic is over. And they still speak about the pandemic in past tense. That's a ticking time bomb, right? You wonder why our healthcare system in Ontario is bursting at the seams. It's because we're still in a pandemic. Now, let's put that aside and let's talk about climate change. Now, granted, I think here in Ontario, hopefully, we're a little more enlightened about the science around climate change. But it was rather tragic and also fascinating to watch Hurricane Helene hit western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee recently. The way it absolutely devastated mountainous communities in the Appalachians. And there were two parts of that I found extremely disturbing. The first was everyone saying we could never imagine this happening here. And I don't fault them for that, but I could. And the reason I could is I know what an atmospheric river is. I've been watching what's happening in British Columbia with their atmospheric rivers, and I've been very conscious of the fact that mountainous communities are actually incredibly vulnerable to climate change. The fact that this community couldn't even conceive of it is not their fault, although it is the fault of their elected leaders who are conveniently ignoring climate change. But then let's talk about what happened after. Because as hurricane relief, as emergency responders tried to get to their communities, there were militias actively trying to hunt them and run them out of their communities based on disinformation and fears induced from conspiracy. So what's going to happen as we start experiencing climate catastrophe and the conspiracies around climate start gaining traction, right? There was an elected member of Congress, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene, who actively believes that the government controls the weather.